What is up, Mullet Gang? It is your favorite neuro-edgy duo, ready to empower the fuck out of you.
Are you ready to break free from the chains of neurotypical expectations? Hey, I'm Susie.
And I'm Amy.
And together we are the Mullet Gang. Hey! All right, so we're so excited because we are going to be launching a new series. I guess we just kind of decided that we've covered all the topics ourselves and it was time to bring on some guests. But how could we bring on guests and make it just a little different? We thought, why not showcase women with ADHD who are out there doing the thing and thriving? And so we kind of brainstormed and kind of had people reach out to us. And so I think we're really excited to produce this show because it's really a passion project for both of us. Both of us are women who have businesses and have had ADHD. It's been challenging. We haven't always had the tools, but here we are. We've made it work. And now we get to hear other women tell their stories too.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We want to create this platform to empower women to share their story and to have this collective experience because we can relate on so many levels as women with ADHD and we all find different ways to thrive with it. So that's our goal of ADHD and Thriving Women Unleashed is bringing all these different women on and having them share their unique stories and experiences with us.
Yes. And so you met Esmeralda on social media, is that right?
Yeah. So we had just connected on Instagram and, following each other and kind of engaging in each other's content. She goes by the Neurospicy Mom, so that definitely caught my attention. And she had mentioned that she was local. And so we actually met up in real life, IRL, right?
Girl date.
It was so fun. And I think I even called you on the way there or left you a voice memo.
Yes.
I'm so nervous. I feel like I'm going on a blind date. I feel so anxious and awkward. What do I say? What do I do? There's just that anticipation of meeting someone for the first time, right?
I know it's a lot. It's it puts you in one of those head spaces where you're like, am I going to be too much? Is this person going to relate? And then you get there and it's magic, right?
Oh my gosh.
I think connection.
Yeah, just knowing that she was neurodivergent and we already had kind of connected and had this vibe, it immediately put me at ease when I met her because as you know, we pick up on people's energy and I could just kind of feel this authentic energy immediately. And it really just put my nerves at ease. And we just kind of jumped right into the convo and really connected. So with episode 8, we called it First Date, and it has kind of a dual benefit, right? Or dual meaning. So we had this a first date where we met in real life and we got to connect, but also it's our first episode with bringing on a guest, right? So kind of first date with one of our Women Unleashed.
Yeah, so excited to showcase this as our first episode. Esmeralda was a joy to be around, and I learned so much. Definitely adding more mindfulness to organizing and getting rid of things that really just don't need to be in the house, right? Decluttering, which is such a feel-good energy, honestly. Gives me that dopamine, right?
Oh, yeah. The power of decluttering, kind of organizing your space, making it more functional. And I feel like we hit so many key topics in our discussion. We kind of started out just talking about time blindness and time management, how we navigate meeting up with someone and getting there on time. One key point that I learned from her was actually putting the address in your GPS so you can see your arrival time, because I think often we either overestimate or underestimate how long something takes. And I think that's something else she brought up too, is kind of timing each task so you know how much time you really need to prepare. And then you kind of backtrack and figure out, okay, what time do I need to leave? We also talked about maybe even changing your clocks a little bit, right? So you have the extra buffer. It's like a mind game you have to play with yourself.
Yeah, it was so fun because it was listening to her talk. I was like, oh, I do that already. That was kind of funny. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
So it's relatable. It's new. It's fresh. We really hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as we did making it and can't wait to hear some feedback. This is for our first episode of our new segment, ADHD and Thriving, Women Unleashed. So each episode we are interviewing guests of all walks of life and celebrating their wins and hearing their story of how they've used ADHD to overcome challenges and build success and thrive. So hello, welcome everyone. Welcome, Mullet Gang. Here we are. First episode! Damn, it's gonna be a wild ride.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Someone write us a theme song.
Okay. That is cute.
Unleashed.
So, Esmeralda, and your company name again is
Get Neat Now.
Get Neat Now. Thank you so much, Esmeralda with Get Neat Now. Welcome to our show. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you.
You're in the Mullet Gang.
You are officially in the gang now.
Yes, welcome.
How did we meet? Oh yeah. How did we meet each other?
How did we meet? How did this trio happen? Well, let me tell y'all. So Esmeralda and I, and she also goes under the Neurospicy Mom, right? That's your other handle.
Yeah.
Have connected for a while on Instagram. She's a content creator, and we've just been like supporting each other and engaging in each other's content. And we were just chatting one day, and I think you're like, "Hey, I'm local, right?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So we're really only like 40, 50 minutes away. And we could find like a meeting spot. So we actually last week met up for the first time. It was like a blind internet date.
Blind date. Yeah.
Right. And we met for coffee. We had a little content sesh, and it was just so natural. Right. Like I just was so amazed how easy it was. I think just knowing that we both were neurodivergent, we had already chatted. We already had kind of this like shared experience, this like mutual understanding of like ADHD mom life. We just got each other. So I think like one of the first things we said is like, okay, let's talk about our trauma, or let's talk about our meds, or, you know, we kind of like joked about being late. Blindness is a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I can't see a clock. My brain doesn't process it. And I think when you have friends and people that you're meeting up with that have ADHD and you have the understanding, it just takes that pressure off, right? Like I know it's not personal, and it doesn't mean that I'm not important if someone's late. It just means they mismanage their time, which I do all the time. So it's so relatable.
Like today, I was late 20 minutes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna be late." Then I'm like, "They're ADHD. They get it. They understand me." So I'm like, "Why do I feel so much pressure?" And then I started telling myself, "I'm like, I feel so responsible right now that I'm late, and I said I was gonna be here at 12, and then there was a traffic, and then I had poop." Right before, like I had to take a
bad timing, body. Bad timing.
timing. Like why? Right
I mean, I think we've all been late because of shits before. That happens.
Man, shit just happens, right?
It happens.
It happens.
Shift happens. I relate. I get it. But I have to be on time all the time for my job. So like it changed me as a person. It's one of those things that like neurotypical people like do all the time. But like, you know, when you don't know anything about your diagnosis at all, or you're not diagnosed yet, and you're just always late, but you like didn't understand if it was like something only about you, or is this the way that your brain processes things, or are you just forgetful? Did your mom drop you on the head and like you can't remember anything? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, I think like it's just a common thing now that you have ADHD, that you're late. And it's just how your brain is wired to just not want to be a time person. But if you're forced to be a time person, then I don't know. It's like having a superpower, a new superpower.
Yeah.
If your challenge, right? Like if your challenge is to be on time, and then you figure out how to like conquer it without even knowing, then it's almost like you can never have issues with it. I don't know. I mean, I'm late all the time though, but not at work. Never.
I think because work is paying you.
Girl.
And we need the reward.
So we all about the money.
We all about
Dopamine, right?
We also need the reward. We're very reward like centered around like
Yeah, I
doing
get
things for
you.
reward. Like if I have to be on time because it's something I don't want to do, I'm going to avoid it at all costs. I'm not going to try to be there on time. But like you want to be responsible with your work. Same thing with your kids. You try really hard to be there on time for school, but we're like, oh, we got to do this again. But so we're not really inclined to get there on time because we're more than capable of planning and making things happen for us, you know?
That makes see, you just blew my mind. That's what just happened. My mind was being blown as you guys were like talking about it. was
No,
like,
it's true though. I mean, I think that if there is enough pressure and a severe enough consequence, we will make it happen, right? And that's where we play those games where we kind of change the time in our head, or maybe we change our clocks in our house or our car. Like, we will find a way to make it fucking happen. But if we don't have that pressure and the consequence is not painful enough, it's like, oh, if my kids are late for school or if I'm late for this appointment, who the fuck cares?
Yeah,
You're just blowing my mind again.
Some of the tricks that I do for like getting to places on time is I give myself a buffer,
Okay.
like 10 minutes. You can like change your clocks in the house to make it like go backwards, so you're not really
That's the hack.
the time. That's a hack. And also putting the address in my GPS.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do is I put it in my GPS, and then I see the time that I need to be there, and then I calculate, okay, what do I need to do in that time? Do I need to use the bathroom, get dressed? So can I do this all within 30 minutes? And then there's a rush to like get there and get it done. And I can see the traffic and I can change the traffic if something happens. So yeah.
It's a lot of pre-planning, but I mean, it's definitely worth it. You just have to kind of get in that habit of doing all of that ahead of time and knowing that's the only way that you're going to be able to get there on time. Right?
Also, if you're going to be my friend, I'm just going to be late.
Yeah, that's a disclosure. Like, that's a disclaimer.
Don't get mad. Don't say something petty. Don't post something on Facebook later. They're always late, but they look great. Like, no. You know what I mean? Like, we're fine. If you can accept my lateness, then we're chill. You know what I mean?
You can accept mine.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this like brings up such a good point though, the balance between like having those skills and tools, like when you really know that you have to be on time if there's a consequence, but then also having room for grace and compassion, because even with all those tools, like we still have ADHD, so we can fumble or mismanage our time. So just like having like things that can help us, but also having grace and compassion because we're all human, right?
Yeah. Dude, yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amy, what's like a good way to like practice that though? Like, what does that look like for you?
I think it's a lot of self-talk and self-coaching, because so much of how we feel and how we react is based on like this internal like story or narrative. If we change that script, then we don't feel that same shame and guilt, right? So what am I saying to myself? And really leaning into those internal thoughts, which is hard, right? Because I think so much of it is automated. They call it ants, automatic negative thoughts. They are just so automated. That neural pathway is so paved that we don't even realize what we're saying or doing unless we pause and have that awareness and then start to write those thoughts down, right? And then you can see them. You can see how those thoughts make you feel shitty. So then you start to restructure those thoughts. What's something I can say to myself instead, right? The next time I have this thought of I'm not good enough, or I'm unworthy, or I'm unlovable, or everyone rejects me. What can I say instead? And then you start to say that new thing, and then you start to pave that new road.
I feel like there should be a list of things you can like break down, like each thing. Like if they say, I don't feel good enough, there should be like a, instead of.
Oh, there's tons of guys like that. Yeah, like a replace.
Yeah, like a few options for us, because
yeah, those are so common, right? I have a lot of different like handouts and things I give my clients where it will have, you know, like the 10 most common, maybe like negative thoughts, and then like kind of a reframe. So like you kind of get in that habit, but a lot of it is just like that self-talk. And then once you change that up, then you start to feel better about yourself and have more of that compassion to say, hey, I'm allowed to fuck up. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to be late. It doesn't mean that I'm a shitty person. It just means I'm human and my brain works differently.
So for all the woo-woo people out there, you're talking about affirmations.
for ADHD people.
Yeah.
Right.
I will not overreact today.
That's a good affirmation.
It should be ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool to kind of make a list too. Like we could even have a lot of our followers send in like some of their common negative thoughts or negative narratives, and then like helping them break that down and replace it, because it makes such a difference, right? We don't realize how mean we are to ourselves.
Yeah.
But most of the time that inner voice is internalized from a parent, a caregiver, maybe a bully, a sibling, like someone in our life, an ex-partner,
The client.
that has said those things, and it's kind of like cemented in our brain. So,
And then we believe those thoughts. We believe that that's our identity, or, oh, now because somebody said I'm always late, now I'm always going to be the person that's late. Like, right?
It starts to be kind of your premise for life. So it's like, this is the type of person I am, and this is how I function. And that's a big part of the work that I do with my clients, is helping them change that up and say, you don't have to believe this. Like, this is your mom, this is your dad, this is your ex-husband or your whoever. Like, you can take those thoughts away and create your own.
That is so good.
Like, what if you can't? What if you can't break out of it? Like, what if you're so stubborn with yourself and you can't say, like, you know, I am good enough and believe it, or this isn't going to fuck up. Like,
You know what I think it is? I think it's that we have multiple thoughts within a minute. That it's not just, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. It's, you're not good enough. This is what happened. This is why you're not good enough. And then we go into a spiraling rabbit hole of thoughts.
Yes.
So we can't really work on changing the one thought and the one thing because we have all of them at the same time.
Until
So
we
how would
learn
we-
how to slow down.
How do
So
we do that?
mindfulness. And I know we all cringe at that word because we're like, I'm not going to fucking meditate. And it's really more about like slowing down your brain and being present. Like right now, I am in my body, in this room, and I'm listening to my voice. And you just kind of ground yourself in the moment and focus on what's something that you hear, you see, you feel, you smell. And that helps slow down all those racing thoughts and all that rumination. It helps you be more present and aware. And then you start to really think about one thing at a time. And it's like unraveling a ball of yarn, right? Because in ADHD, our thoughts are like this big jumbled ball of yarn. We can't do anything with it. Right? It's like, what do I do with this? But when you start to unravel it one at a time, you can see those thoughts and those beliefs, and that's where you start to change it.
so you have to be woo-woo.
You have to work on mindfulness because if you don't, with ADHD, like she said, you literally have 100 tabs open at any given time. And how do you know which one to prioritize, which one to focus on? They all are jumbled together. So that's why we get the paralysis or overwhelmed because we don't know what to act on, right?
You're right. I mean,
Good.
I really do think it needs to be woo-woo, guys. Like, I'm not talking shit about woo-woo, okay? Like, I do yoga, I light sage, I have crystals, like... Whether or not you believe in what it is, it represents something. It's like a tool. I use it to ground myself. There are definitely a lot of times where I feel like, I don't know, just overwhelmed with life and I want to scream. And we were talking about tantrums and I want to throw a fucking tantrum, but I catch a breath and I ground myself and I meditate a lot, like a lot. And I don't think people understand that like full meditation is a cleanser of the brain. Because you have to think, you said something that really like sparked something in me. And I started thinking while also listening to you, which is really crazy how we could do that. You said that, like our brains are going like 1,000,000 miles a second, right?
Right.
How many tabs we have open, right? Can you just tell me what you guys, when I say this question, when I ask you this question, what comes to mind right away? How tired is your fucking brain? What's your brain like?
Exhausted, burnout.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Too many thoughts because we're running.
so an overactive heart will explode. What will happen to an overactive brain? Right? If this
That's
brain is
overstimulation.
right.
That's the meltdown.
But imagine how often are we overstimulated? Like, what is an ADHDers or anybody on the spectrum's brain like? Even neurotypicals that have common stress and anxiety, what are their brains like if they're going 1,000,000 miles? So the woo-woo shit to me is like a way to clean it, you know, a way to relax it, a way to stop it from going, because those muscles need a break, bro. Like, that's why a lot of people sometimes do get stuck on the fucking couch because your brain is a muscle. And it's fucking done. It's done. It's out. It's like,
What's it like circuits or misfire? You know, when you're like trying to plug something, it's like, it just like explodes because it just can't.
which you can't, this is why you can't call your kids lazy or unmotivated when they have ADHD or are on the spectrum, because their brain doesn't operate at this slow pace. It operates at a high pace. It is exhausted. It's literally why I have to unpeople when I get home. Like, I don't want to people anymore, guys. Like, I'm done. I work at a salon all day. I've been talking. I've been listening to this conversation over here, keeping an eye on the dryer to make sure we have enough towels. Oh, somebody just walked by. Did they look inside the salon? My brain is done. When I get home, I need to unpeople. I need to go in the bath, lay on the couch, and just not talk.
But you know what happens sometimes? We don't even get that time. To
God. Yeah, I know.
We jump from
It's an epidemic.
people know people. I don't want to deal with people. Then we go home and all the kids are running up to
Our people.
Our people, we love them, but sometimes they come up to us. They're like, you know, hey, I want to see you. Hey, you know, how's this is my day. This is how I'm going. And then you have different ages, different groups. They're all talking to you at once. Then you're trying to plan what's for dinner. And then you get overstimulated even more. And then you're like, I need to just get away. And sometimes I feel that mom guilt because I'm like, I just left my kids, I'm locked myself in my room for a few minutes so I can decompress and get away from everybody. But I don't want them to feel like
Rejected.
but then I feel bad because and then I'm like, oh, I have to go be a mom now,
Yeah.
I feel like I have to like shut down.
Yeah, you need that recovery time. And I think that's what's so hard about being a mom with ADHD, right? Like that's where actually my symptoms came out and I got diagnosed because I could no longer have like that space and that quiet to recover. I could no longer control my environment or my routine, like everything kind of exploded when I became a mom. So it's like this, you have this now, this tiny human that constantly needs your attention and you give so much to this human and then you can't really have that time for yourself. And like you said, then when they get older, it's like you're working all day and dealing with people. Then you come home and like, if I could just even have an hour to decompress, or like we talked about car rotting, right? Like waiting in our car before you even go inside or like locking yourself in the bathroom because it's like my brain needs time to transition to process what just happened at work and then kind of walk into this like parenting role. And if I don't have that space, I just get so overloaded because it's like, I haven't had a minute of peace. It's just like go, go, go from one task to another, especially when you work from home. Like there's my office right there, guys. So like I log off of a session and my kids are like knocking at the door, just got dropped off after school. And then it's like constant, Mom, I'm hungry. I want this or this happened, or I have to do my homework, and then you have all of that all evening and then you finally put them to bed. And we were just talking about this yesterday, like with my kids, it's maybe around 9:30 where they're done with the whole bedtime routine. And then it's like, well, if I want to go to bed at a reasonable hour, I have like an hour left of just time for me. So if you think about that hyperactivity in your brain that's constantly going, the overwhelm and overstimulation, maybe social exhaustion, burnout, and then you're not getting any time to recharge.
That brain is fried.
Oh my God.
That brain is
What I
fried.
started doing is I started taking like increments. So not taking an hour to myself, but just like, all right,
Increments
guys,
of time.
I'll tell them like I'm getting a little overstimulated. I just need to decompress. That's what I say.
Oh, I like that.
So I go into my decompression chamber and I tell them I need to decompress. Let me sit here for a few minutes and then I take my 10 minutes and then go back out. And I'm like, all right, I'm mom mode again. My gosh, no. Sorry, guys, I'm overstimulated. Like,
do they respect that? Like they like give
they
you
understand.
space?
They understand. And then I just go and then I come back out. But I can't do it. I can't go a whole like 5 hours like I used to like just be a mom presently there because it's hard.
Yeah.
So
That's good though, because that feels more manageable. And I'm the same way. It's sometimes it's like if I have 15 minutes to myself in the bedroom, I have some water and a snack, I'm like a whole different person, right? And I'm like, sorry guys, like
recharging.
yeah, it's like those basic needs. Like we are basically just like complex like plants. Like we need water, we need sun,
We're orchids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it goes back to like being able to slow down, the meditation, the mindfulness, but then also something else that we've talked a lot about is like movement, because we have so much of that hyperactivity and action in our brain. If we release that physically, like I've really found that it's just so helpful. And the research is there too, like daily movement, exercise, exerting some of that can help you clear out your brain.
Yeah.
So what type of activity do you do? How do you get movement in?
So I'm a line dancer.
Oh, wow.
So I started dancing salsa and bachata like maybe like 15 years ago.
I love it.
And I transitioned into line dancing. So
Wow.
that's how I get my movement in. I love going to the gym. Yeah.
That's so fun. And I think that's like a great example because we're talking about this a lot with our collective group, the NeuroEdgy Collective, that like it has to be fun and you have to have dopamine in it. Like if it's just something that's boring and feels like a chore, especially with ADHD, like you might be able to do it for 30 days, right? But then you kind of lose that motivation or mojo and then you're just like, never mind. But like line dancing or just something that's fun and lights
It feels a passion.
Yeah. And you have like a social element, right? Like maybe a partner.
And then there's outfits.
Oh, the outfit.
I bet you have like a million boots.
Yes.
Oh my God. We need to do an episode on like boots.
We'll have to have a Nashville episode.
Should we all go line dancing together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should go line dancing.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I was going to bring these shiny boots, but this would have gone.
I know. Oh, now that really makes sense. You made it make sense. Okay.
Gosh, I love it.
So that's what I do for movement.
Okay.
And how ironic is that I had that hat out and like howdy, oh my gosh, it's all coming together, guys.
All coming together.
And she's got a little like cowgirl boot necklace.
So cute.
So yeah, movement has to be fun. It has to be exciting. It has to give you dopamine. It can't be this like boring chore.
And it needs to have a reward.
Yes.
The reward of us doing the movement, like we have to have something.
Yeah.
So just being flexible, not having to be perfect with
Yes.
the movement. Same thing with line dancing. I love line dancing because it builds confidence. I go out there and I learn a new dance. I'm in front of a lot of people. I have to know which direction to go. I have to be the one to know within myself what the next move is. So I do it as the challenge. So I used to do like once a week I would go and dance and learn a new dance. It would challenge me.
Yeah. I think
was the
it
reward.
looks hard.
That was the reward. It was like, I need to get this down.
That's
I
so
need to do
cool.
this. And it
Yeah.
challenged me, and
Your reward was the challenge getting
Like
squashed.
I do that with like different things in my life. Like, what is the reward behind this to get me to get to do this task? So what's the reward for doing laundry?
What is it?
I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But
Take it off my mental load.
you can say, I'm going to take a bath
Okay.
after I do the laundry.
That's not enough for me. I need
So what would be
more.
enough? You get to buy one outfit.
Two.
massage.
One.
You have to negotiate with yourself.
I
Yeah.
have to know what
2 outfits.